Hi. You know what game genre I enjoy more than any other? The unfinished games genre. A delightful romp through these buggy, unfinished, should have never been released games is just what I need to feel completely satisfied and fulfilled, like I'm flying through the sky. Wait a minute. I'm getting that confused with bath salts. Unfinished games suck! No one wants to spend $60 on a game that isn't worth $60. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there's this little subgenre of unfinished games called Nintendo games. Don't know if you've heard of them. Oh shit, Al's lost his fucking bonkers. Nintendo doesn't make unfinished games. Nintendo isn't bad. That is where you are wrong, my son. Join me, and I will take you through the reality that is unfinished Nintendo games. Alright, so Nintendo has had this strategy ever since the launch of the Nintendo Switch where they essentially released these full-priced, unfinished games. This has mainly been an issue regarding their multiplayer-centric games. These ones here, just to name a few. They drop them half-baked, then add free updates later on to fill in the game's content-wise a bit more. Now, from a marketing perspective, this is basically genius. These are some big-brain plays right here. Nintendo games are usually technically sound with a strong gameplay foundation. They also just have a reputation of being quite good, so I believe when Nintendo releases these undercooked games, the lack of content is typically an issue that goes unacknowledged by the vast majority of reviewers. This plays into Nintendo's favor extremely well. They get to reap the sales benefits of the positive review scores and then fill in the gaps through free content patches later on. Doing this allows Nintendo to keep the game fresh in everyone's mind for months or even years after the game's initial release. Drop the game, make the sales, let it simmer, drop small content patches, all the big content creators and influencers make videos praising the new content, make more sales. It's actually pretty ingenious. I get why they do it, but if you are anything like me though, you might buy the game, see the limited amount of content that the game has to offer, enjoy what's there, but then put it down and never look back. There's too many games coming out at all times of the year, so typically once I finish a game, I move on. That's it. Sayonara, adios. I would just prefer to enjoy the extra content from the get-go. Well, I say extra content, but really it's just patching in content that's been stripped from the game before release. Here are some fine examples. ARMS was pathetic. I mean, it still kind of is pathetic, but it was more pathetic at launch. ARMS launched with a whopping roster size of 10 fighters, and is smaller than Super Smash 64, god damn it. Even back in '99, 12 characters felt a bit thin, so in 2017, for the launch of a new fighting game series, come on guys, it was silly. They over time added 5 additional characters, but god, they should have just been there at launch. Even then, the game is still hardly worth buying. My god, why is it still $60? At least I could have enjoyed those extra characters from the get-go, but, you know, by the time they came out, I was enjoying other games. It didn't need to be this way, though. The data for the fighters was found in the game just after launch. So this was nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to extend the longevity of the game, a failed one at that. People dropped it pretty quick. This is by far the worst example of this content release strategy, but the next game doesn't really fare much better.
I wanna eat your pussy. Yes, it sounds so good.
Kirby Star Allies, much like ARMS, launched with a wimpy amount of content. Difference is, Kirby is a long-running series with games to compare it to that had way more content from the start. I don't like this game. It's vanilla as shit, even for a Kirby game, but that's a story for another video. You get to have little allies throughout the game, but the game launched with three main allies. Dude. What? Like ARMS, more characters were found in the game's code and were available as free DLC down the road. Still don't think it's quite worth the full $60 price tag, but it at least managed to justify itself a little bit better than ARMS. Nintendo recently dropped a big content update for Mario Maker 2 and confirmed that Animal Crossing will be receiving free updates for years down the road. I didn't pick up Mario Maker 2, it just looked like the first game with some extra bells and whistles, but they just added the ability to basically create your own entire game. Wow! That is a major selling point, and for them to add it this late into the game's life, I just can't be fucked. The community aspect is dead. People moved on from this game. Everybody's playing Animal Crossing now, which, boy oh boy, do I have some bones to pick with you too, Animal Crossing. New Horizons is cool. I like it, but I ran out of stuff to do like 2 weeks in. The game has been data mined to hell and back, and it looks like the game has loads of content just sitting there, waiting for the opportunity to shine, but I'm literally basically already done with it. If that stuff was there at launch, I might still feel incentivized to log in every day and check out all there is to see, but I've basically moved on. I hate so much that this content is more than likely ready to go, but we have to wait for Nintendo to disperse it over the course of several years. Give me a break. Now, hey, maybe you're thinking, Al, you big stupid idiot, I like the way Nintendo releases content. I like having a reason to go back and visit my old Nintendo games. And hey, You know, that's totally fair. But for me personally, this approach has left me feeling pretty meh about the handful of recent Nintendo games exercising this strategy. I want to feel like I'm getting $60 worth of game when I spend $60, you know what I mean? Let me put it this way. Other games and studios in the past have not gotten away with this style of releasing content. Take, for instance, Sea of Thieves. It was ass blasted at release for having very little in the way of content, but over the years has received many free updates, and it's basically a completely different game now. But just think, there's probably a lot of people out there who were turned off by the game early on for lacking so much, and people who never gave it a chance to begin with. Those guys are long gone now, and the majority probably don't even know that the game ever got updates. So I just gotta wonder why Nintendo gets a free pass on this. Probably because they're Nintendo. Now, I don't mean to be all doom and gloom talking about this. I do think there are ways to do it right. Smash is the perfect example of how to do it right. The game launched with an insane amount of content, it didn't need anything else, and yet they still added fan-favorite modes to the game that were omitted from launch. Like I said earlier, this is more of an issue plaguing Nintendo's multiplayer releases, and unfortunately, it seems like a pretty lucrative strategy, so I don't think it's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. I just hope that they'll eventually start dropping games that feel a bit fuller upon release, rather than filling them in later. That's it.